Hello. Hi, it's been a while,
Hello.
huh? It's good to see you. We're going to, I'm going to answer any questions you have on test 3. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And let's see here. All right. So the first questions are on the time of Andrew Jackson, right? And so what was not emblematic of democratization? Nearly all states broadened their franchise. That is true. They almost all dropped property requirements for citizenship for white men. So the franchise thus was broadened. The electoral system was abolished? No, right? The direct election of presidential electors increased political participation. The party convention system for nomination, all those other ones are true. All right. I want to look down at number 6. According to Edward Pessin, did he confirm Alexa de Tocqueville's claim about general economic equality of condition amongst Americans? No, he did not. He's revisionist. He said, no, that's too strong of a statement, right? That all Americans were in the same class and all about the same socioeconomic spot. He said, no, that's stretching it. There's evidence for disparity of wealth, as there's always been in American history or in other national histories as well. All right. Trying to think of ones that stood out to me that may not have been, very clear from the handouts, from the argumentative assignments. Let's see here. He did use the term popular mandate. Remember, we talked about that with the Trail of Tears and with the war on the bank, etc. The Trail of Tears, we have that. Number 9 is straight out of the book or straight out of the assignment. And it's stated just the opposite of that the press and others were absolutely overtly evident in their racism. And then the loss of Texas, the Chicano perspective, right? The capitalizing upon the generosity of the Mexican government and Santa Anna's uber conservative constitution served as a convenient pretext, right? The April 6th law was a little harsh toward the Anglos. The Constitution was pretty conservative in defense of the rebels in American court history. Let's see here. The instructor highlights popular blame for the Mexican-American War and the Bear Flag Revolt in California, suggesting that the federal government was not in the proverbial driver's seat. That is a subjective claim, but I did make that. So because it's straight out of the argumentative assignment, and I did make that argument, right? Then you're safe with going with true on that one. All right. 13 is right out of the handout, that unhealthy cycle. Okay. Notice I didn't write down your names. It's the same names. I have them. If you see my piece of paper, it's check after check. I'm looking at them. It's the same name, so I know which names to check. Okay. So don't worry. I know you're here. But yeah, without exception, it's the same name so far. Let's see here. Which gold rush data does not seem to support Frederick Jackson Turner's thesis? Temporary lack of institutions and reputation for lawlessness. That does, right? Remember, because he said that the West was the leveler as far as dangers equally inherently faced by everyone, and opportunities. Mineral wealth extracted with little or no need for capital or expertise at first, right? Like the 1848ers. That is true. Entrepreneurial opportunities to mine the miners. We talked about that. Foreign miners taxes against Hispanics and Asians. Does that go with his thesis of equality of opportunity? No. So that's the one that you're going to want to choose. Okay. On number 16. And then those with superior wealth, as well as racial discrimination, those both go against his thesis, right? Both of them do, as far as equality of opportunity and meritocracy in the West. Let's see here, trying to think what else was not really clear from the handouts. So notice the antebellum reforms. Attempt to salvage the nuclear family from perceived dysfunctions, absolutely. Protest against conformity amidst an increasingly bourgeois industrializing society, absolutely. The Transcendentalists. Ties to court history, depicting an out of the ordinary and anomalously idealistic generation, all of those, right, are tied to the narrative of the Civil War. Prison and asylum reform, the emphasis on rehabilitation, public educational movement, utopian movements, temperance movement, Sabbath movement, abolitionist movement, and that's not an exhaustive source, but all those were included in antebellum before the Civil War reforms. Court history, does it contend that it was won between factions? No. Remember, court history contends that it was a crusade. It was a moral crusade on behalf of a very loud numerical minority, a very idealistic numerical minority that rocked the boat and forced the country to have discourse on slavery, on that issue. And then you have polarizing events that help push it further, like the Bleeding Kansas episode and the fugitive slave law and other things that we've talked about. And then you have the timely evolution of Abraham Lincoln, right? Where by the time he dies, he becomes something that's a little bit reminiscent of an abolitionist. So all those are part of the narrative of court history. That it was mainly about factions and who was going to win the West in its own image. That's revisionist history. All right. Radical Republicans as the conciliatory arm of the Republican Party? No way. They prided themselves on being the rabble rousers of the Republican Party, right? And forcing discourse on this topic. Let's see here. Abraham Lincoln is a bold abolitionist from the beginning? No, not even in court history do they depict him as such, right? Abraham Lincoln, revisionist historiography, quotes challenging the rationale used to defend slavery. Let's see here, which would utilized by a revisionist historian. So when he had this famous quote where he says, okay, slave owners they defend slavery because they contend that they are lighter skinned than their slaves. And says, be careful, for you might become the slave to the next man you meet with skin lighter than your own. Oh, you claim that you're intellectually superior to the slaves. Well, take care again, you might become the slave to the next man who's intellectually superior to you. And so in challenging the rationale for slavery, that would be used by court history, right? Not against court history. That makes Lincoln look good. The interpretation of Lincoln's concession to border states as a temporary chess move. The fact that he allowed Kansas or Kentucky to keep their slaves if they fought for the Union, but he contended that it was a chess move, that he needed their help militarily, and was not going to allow them to ultimately keep their slaves. They just didn't know it yet. So that interpretation of it still arguably is court history. It's defensive of Lincoln. Lincoln's quote against political and social equality between the two races, absolutely, right? He got cornered in the Lincoln-Douglas debates, and he says, I, for my part, declare that in the event that there can't be equality, there can't be social equality between the white and black races. He says, I'm as much in favor of the superiority of the white race as anybody else. It's a really ugly quote. Howard Zinn has it in his book, etc. So that's the one you're going to look for. All right. Polarizing events. Riots against the fugitive slave law, absolutely. The difficulty in determining the legitimacy of slavery by vote in Kansas, those are all true. The Underground Railroad and slave insurrection attempted Slave Insurrection by John Brown. A bold attempt by the Supreme Court to secure the enslavement and disenfranchisement of Black men. That's the Dred Scott case. So it'd be all the above, right? As far as polarizing events of the 1850s that helped lead to the Civil War. Revisionist historians, do they portray it as a moral crusade against the institution and practice of slavery? No way, right? Evidence supporting revisionist history, evidence of racism and discrimination in the North as well as in the South, absolutely. Declarations by President Lincoln and Congress that combating slavery was not their primary concern, absolutely. Written evidence that key political leaders stressed the need for African-American men's military help on a utilitarian basis, right? Not out of humanitarianism, but saying, hey, we could use the Black soldiers to help us win. So those would all be used by revisionist historians. And then it goes on to textbook questions. That last one, revisionist data on Abraham Lincoln includes all the following except Lincoln's Declaration of Emancipation only for slaves of rebels. That is true. An infamous quote against the social and political equality of Black and white Americans. We've already mentioned that, yes. Evidence that he dragged his feet in confronting slavery in the states where it had already been sanctioned, yes. His refusal to place any radical Republicans in his cabinet, no, he did. He put William Seward in his cabinet for one as an example of a radical Republican. So that's the one that doesn't fit. All right, so those are the ones that I thought, might not be as concretely discovered in your argumentative assignments. But by all means, do you have any other questions on a specific question? You guys?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, thank you, Carolee. You guys, I'm gonna miss this class. I don't have to say that. I really am. I'm gonna really miss this class. You guys have been exceptional. I mean that. And so, yeah, shoot. All good things must come to an end.
It's been an enjoyable class. I've enjoyed this.
I hope so. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I try the way I format it. I try to like to think that it has some usefulness for your life and just working on your creative thinking and make history a little less boring for those of you who are not history nerds like myself. Taking this as a general requirement. But you guys have been earnest. I love your questions throughout the semester. I love your faithful attendance to the Zooms. Unfortunately, that's not the norm. It hasn't been the norm for me with all my classes. And so I've really come to appreciate you guys as a class and individually. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great Christmas season and a great break. Kaleo, you have raised your hand?
Yes, my assignments from November 10th onward haven't been graded yet.
No, really? Okay. All right. Well, let me write that down because I don't know if I'm that far behind or if somehow you have fallen through the crack.
So my assignments, I think I am back to the video assignment. That was the last one that's not graded yet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Is that good?
Okay,
I think that's the.
Yeah, I haven't had back to that too. The video assignment, I'm back to there.
Okay.
Which is the November 10th.
Okay. Gotcha. So Kaleo, it sounds like it's everyone. I apologize. At my other school, I'm turning in my final grades today. And so now you guys will have my full attention as far as grading the assignments. And I know it's the last week. You're yeah, thanks a lot.
Your best class and you leave us for last. Thanks.
Don't you know, sadly, that it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease?
Yeah.
I've had other classes of kids have just been on me, man. Just what about this? What about that? And I do. I have that tendency to go to them first, and I apologize for that. But,
yeah, I did mine almost a whole month worth in one day. I remember. I was
Yes.
outside running and I was getting all the grades in my voice.
Yes. Yeah, trying to
There
play
was a lot
catch
of
up.
reading.
Trying to play catch up. Yeah, especially with you guys. I know yeah. So, but I apologize, and I have to. I mean, now you know that I have to. You have to turn in everything. You have to submit your final by the night of the 16th, okay?
Mhm.
I'd have no problem going till Saturday or Sunday as usual. But the system won't allow me to do that. Anytime I put in anything after the 16th, the 17th, 18th, 19th, it rejects it on my end. And so that's as far back as the Canvas will allow me to go as the 16th. So that's just in 2 days. That's just what, Thursday night?
So that means you have to have all of our papers graded before then too?
No,
Or just
thank
that
goodness.
final?
You guys cannot submit anything after that date.
Oh, okay.
And then I should have, if it's like my other school, they'll give us till Monday or Tuesday afternoon of the next week to have everything graded. And I promise you, I won't be sitting back thinking, okay, I have until that time. I'm going to take my sweet time. I'm going to jump on this this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank
Sounds
you. And yeah, I couldn't wish you guys well more genuinely in your lives, in your careers, in academia, etc. You guys deserve it. You guys are exceptionally good students.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, and so yeah, so if you have any other questions, please Canvas message me. I have a cell phone number available also. Utilize that if you need to, if you feel the need to. And that's it, you guys. That's it for this test, for this week. That's it for the semester.
All right, thank you for everything.
Thank you. And I mean
Thank
it.
you.
You guys have been great. All right, so you guys take care, and I'd love to see our paths cross sometime in the future.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right,
Sure.
bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Bye.
Christmas.
Hi,
Thank
Have a
thanks
good
for
Christmas
teaching this
too.
year.
Thank you, you too. Thank you.
Thank you for teaching as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.